In Maryland, the law that requires the state to have a balanced budget each year is the Maryland Constitution, specifically Article 3, Section 52. This provision mandates that the governor submit a balanced budget to the Maryland General Assembly each year. It ensures that the state's expenditures do not exceed its revenues, meaning that the state cannot spend more than it earns. Going into the 2025 legislative session of the General Assembly, it was well known that the revenue projections were at least $3 billion below the amount needed to balance the budget on paper. As a result, the governor and the General Assembly have been working on a package of tax hikes to balance the budget. According to Senate President Bill Ferguson, the situation is very fluid, including a sales tax on some services. Maricé, when you were in the legislature, did you have to go through anything like this?
Absolutely not. So between 2014 and 2018, when I was in the House, we did not have any kind of issue dealing with, I guess, the time constraints, right, that they're dealing with now. However, in 2012 and as late as 2024, there was the need for an extension, so an extended session to complete those negotiations, because, as you well stated, the Constitution of Maryland does require us to balance that budget. That said, we know that we have until the 83rd day. If we're not anywhere near that, then the governor can ask for a day, like a 10-day extension, or they can ask for a new session after they leave on sine die. But as is, I did not experience that.
So, what's fascinating is even this morning, I was alerted by my trade association, the Maryland Land Title Association, that new fees are going to be imposed on even being able to look at and copy things from the State Department of Assessments and Taxation website, which is expected to bring in millions of dollars each year. Up till now, all of these services have been free. So, the governor's tax proposal is not just directed at the millionaire's tax or a tax increase on capital gains or an increase actually by decoupling from the federal estate tax. It's going to make more Marylanders open to estate taxes. So, Helene, part of the budget deficits comes from the unfunded mandates related to the blueprint for Maryland's future. But polling data shows that Marylanders, while they generally support education, they're worn out from taxes. What's the solution here?
Well, the solution is fiscal responsibility, but it seems like it's an answer that no one wants to hear. The state should have planned for this deficit to happen, the $3.1 billion deficit. There was a $5 million surplus coming out of Mary Hogan. So they should have planned that they would be lacking funds and did not plan accordingly. So now they're faced with only drastic spending cuts and tax increase. And that is the issue at hand, is that they're planning for 2.3 budget cuts, but they haven't detailed what are those spending cuts. So we don't know what they're going to cut, because they're not going to cut the disability department spending. So we don't know what they're going to cut, and they're planning for 1.6 billion in tax increase, among which, what you said, the higher tax rates on higher brackets, and also on IT tax on data service centers and information technology systems, and other taxes, in addition to that. So now the Maryland families and businesses are going to have to shoulder the cost, shoulder that 3.1 deficit, because we don't know what they're going to cut. So we're going to have to pay for this deficit, and that's hurting businesses, that's hurting small businesses, because pass-through entities and S corps, that they don't pay corporate tax, they pay personal income tax, right? So they will pay those increases, and also families will have also to shoulder some of the burden.
You've listed a long list of things, and Maricé, again, taxes on the wealthy, taxes on cannabis, gaming, data services. Are we going to see a lot of services being taxed, you think, as the final budget gets shaken out in the next 3 weeks?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Governor Moore has stated, that he does not agree with the business to business taxes. And as I was speaking to some of the business community, I guess representatives, lobbyists, et cetera, the retailers, they're very concerned because this attempt was taken up by the Pennsylvania legislature, and actually it ended up being shouldered by the grocers, which then was passed down to the consumers. So I think that I think that Bill Ferguson and Ben Barnes have been savvy and not really responding too much, as negotiations are fluid. But I think that the governor has actually really responded to the efforts from the business community in terms of. I mean, when I was in the legislature, this was an issue, and I'm glad that the Democratic Party is finally really addressing kind of like day-to-day issues that consumers and voters really care about at the end of the day.
Well, they may care about them. Tired of being taxed to death, Maricé. Honestly, come on.
Hey, I'm on your side on this one, Casey. Come on now.
Well, the question that I get asked all the time is, how did we, go from having a budget surplus to being so far in the hole? So we're not going to solve that right now because we have to go on to our next topic. But that's the question on everybody's mind is, how did we get here, and how much is it going to cost us individually when we make these changes? So just save that thought till the next time you're on, Maricé.
Happy to. I can respond now, but I mean, I'm following.
Now we're
Yes, exactly.